English is a hassle, not a hassle. And it's not difficult. It's just unnecessarily complicated. And I shouldn't say unnecessarily because this is how the language turned out historically. But I want to share my screen with you to show you what I'm talking about, because otherwise you have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm talking about silent letters in English. There are some languages like the H in Spanish and the H in French, where the letter is silent. The letter is silent. So, but the letter is always silent. The H in French and in Spanish, and I think in all Latin-based languages, the H is silent. The problem is that, for example, I have here, how do you spell, and then whatever the word would be, silent letters in English, and I'm talking about the silent GH. The problem with the GH is that the GH has more than one sound. In rough, the GH is not so much silent as it takes on the sound of another word, of another letter. The GH takes on the sound of the F, right? So it's not that a letter is silent. That's not the problem. But that the problem is that sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. That's the problem. So I made a whole series of cards dealing with silent letters. See, let me tell you why I started making these cards. I began teaching English in Latin America as a way of making money. And I quickly realized that there weren't cards for or material for what I wanted to teach. The big cracks that the students fell into, and that's why a lot of them never learned English, because certain things just didn't make any sense. So they had no way of, it's not that they couldn't memorize it, but they didn't know when to memorize this versus when to see this as a rule versus this as being an exception. So I started making my own cards. When I came back to United States, for years I was busy with studying. I was doing graduate work in history. I was going to get my doctorates in history. And then I decided, well, I think I want to go back to ESL also. So while I was working on my doctorates in history, I never got it. I got an ABD. I did everything but my dissertation. I went to another university to study ESL. I had gotten a degree in Mexico, but that degree really wasn't recognized here. So I got a master's degree in ESL. And a lot of the material I just couldn't find. When I went and I moved from where I was to California, thinking, oh, in California, I'll find a lot of material because ESL must be super big business. Nope. So I started making them. Okay? And I started asking myself, what's the material that's absent? How can I make this feel better so that material that teachers need, for example, to teach pronunciation or to teach spelling, because spelling in English is, even for native speakers, is very bad. We have spelling bees every Friday. When I was a kid, we had spelling bees every Friday. Okay, so without telling my whole life story, we're looking at letters and diphthongs or letter blends when they're silent. So the first thing we're looking at is the GH. Cough. You see, the GH there is not silent so much as it takes on a different sound, totally different. It imitates the sound of the F, cough. Trough. Rough. We're talking about the GH because you hear neither the G, G, or the H. It's this, the sound is totally, it's an imitation of the F. tough. And a lot of people spell like rough and tough, rough like R-U-F-F or tough, T-U-F-F. Enough. Very important word. I've had enough. Basta. Slough. A sloth, excuse me. Laugh. Drought. Draft. That's right. I used to call this drought, but it's draft. Draft beer. And for years, I thought draft beer was spelled D-R-A-F-T, like a draft, like you're drafted or a draft dodger. Now we're talking about, still we're talking about the GH, but now this isn't, how would you pronounce this if it were with an F sound? Daughter, no, it's daughter, daughter. And the GH is there. You better know it's there, but it's completely silent. If you didn't know how to spell it, or if you didn't or if you didn't know how it was spelled, and you wanted to write it, you would write, I guess you would write D-A-U-T-E-R, daughter. But you know, the problem isn't just the spelling. Let's say you wanted to look up daughter. You know, how do you say hija? Let's say you know the word hija in Spanish, and you want to know how do you say the word daughter, or you know the word daughter, you know how to pronounce it, but you don't know how to spell it. You couldn't find it in the dictionary because you wouldn't know how to spell the word in order to find it. And the letters in the word, they don't help you. They're there as ornaments, not nothing more. Slaughter, daughter, slaughter. Now these words rhyme. Fraught, ought, no pronunciation at all. It's as if they're not there. Haughty, she's very haughty. She's very arrogant. She acts like the world owes her a living. Naughty, caught, taught, bought. He bought a ring for his boyfriend. He bought. Brought, that's from bring. He brought me flowers. Ooh. Fought, the past tense of the verb to fight. Sought, past tense of the verb to seek. You use that somewhere. Yeah, you use it. It's used, yeah, it is. Thought, I thought you forgot me. The past tense and past participle of the verb to think. Thoughtful, to do something nice for someone. Maybe that person wasn't expecting it and they said, that was very thoughtful of you. That was very kind of you. You kept me in mind when you wanted to do something kind. So that's thoughtful. Though, GH is there, but it might as well not be. It's ornament, though. And there the OU is O. Bright. Now bright has two spellings, B-R-I-G-H-T, but I've also seen B-R-I-T-E, but that's not the formal, that's not the, that's more of a commercial, like television advertisement, bright, B-R-I-T-E, B-R-I-T-E. It fits because the E makes the I, the long I sound I, bright. But you have to be very careful how you use that. Use it for advertisement when you want to name a product. Right. Once again, I've seen write, R-I-T-E. And write as R-I-T-E, I've seen it as the name of a farm. Well, not, yeah, I guess you call it a pharmacy, like CVS is a pharmacy. Rite Aid, R-I-T-E. No, that's right. I've said this before. Right. When you are given your last rites, that's R-I-T-E-S, your last rites. Before you die in the Catholic Church, I don't know if any other Christian churches, but in the Catholic Church, a priest comes and he gives you your last rites before you die. Right, W-R-I-G-H-T. The W is also silent, not just the G-H, but the W. Night, N-I-G-H-T. I hope, let me see. Tight, something that is tight, it's not loose. Bite, bite, B-I-G-H-T, and bite, B-I-T-E. Sight, sight is S-I-G-H-T, C-I-T-E, and S-I-T-E. They all spell sight, and they all mean something different. Fight, frighten. G-H not making one, not even a peep. Height. Now just imagine if you didn't know how to spell this word, how in God's name would you find it in the dictionary? You know the word, you know what it means, but you don't know how to spell it, height. The only thing you could do is if you have a phone, an Apple phone or a phone that you can say the word and say, please look it up in the dictionary for me, height. Height is also spelled H-I-T-E, but I've only seen it as a name, the Height Report. That was either in the 80s or 90s, I'm not sure. Lightning, not lighting, but lightning, the thing in the sky, you have thunder and lightning. Through, now that OU is ooh. We already talked about in prior videos, the many sounds of the OU and the OW, the many sounds. And once again, I know I learned this in grade school. From the time you go to kindergarten, now for kids, it's preschool. And sometimes it's preschool 3, preschool 2, preschool 1, and then preschool. They're in school ever since they're 3 years old. And they learn all of this. When in my day, which was many thousands of years ago, it was kindergarten, you start to learn how to read. And so by the time you get into the second half of the first grade, you know how to read. Very, very basic things, but you know how to read. Thoughtless, you're not thinking. It's the opposite of thoughtful. Thoroughbred. Thoroughfare. Bow or bow. And we're back to the silent G, H. No sound. Sometimes the GH has no sound in the respect that the G is pronounced, but not the H. So we're talking about the silent GH. You know, I'm thinking about the word burrows. Staten Island, Manhattan, boroughs. That's also spelled with a GH. And bow or bow is also. And like I said, if you don't know how to spell these words, you can't even find them in the dictionary because you don't know how to spell them in order to find them. I've had that dilemma. I've had that. And I've had to ask somebody, how do you spell this? So I'm not even asking you to define it for me. Just tell me how you spell it so I can look in the dictionary. But now, like I said, sometimes your Apple telephone, you can speak and it will find it for you. You know, you can go on Google and it'll find it for you. Okay, so we're talking about silent letters in English. There's quite a few of these cards. So I want to thank you. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for looking at my video. I hope you can find it in your heart to share my videos. I hope you could subscribe so I can get as many subscriptions as possible. But whatever. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate you listening to my videos. Bye-bye. Oh, have a great day.